Hello, hello, hello. Tonight is Monday night. It's October 21st, 2024. And this is the Adroit Living session of the Erudition Network. Here I like to address some things to make us wholly aware of the various things and the aspects in life that contribute to mental health. I like to talk in a holistic way so we understand how everything pulls together and works towards our mental health and how that impacts our human behavior. So, yes, this is a psychology type of show where we talk a little bit about the human mind and behavior, the study of it anyway. So, I also talk about some rather sensitive topics that occur in current events, and it can be a little challenging to see the perspective in which I bring it because I notice with a lot of social media and mainstream media, um, there's a contrived nature to um, be conditioned to think or see things in a way that nullifies our innate ability to exercise our formal logic. So if that explains it, I hope it explains it a bit better than I've been doing. I am camera shy. I'm very shy in person. I like to be in the background. So this is a new thing for me where I come on and I'm trying to constantly put myself in a position where more people can see me as opposed to just watching my various social medias where I may write something or something like that and everybody shares that. So please like, share, subscribe these episodes so that we can continue to bring it this way. So ring the bell because sometimes I come on different times, different days, because I'm doing this as a volunteer effort to continue to contribute with mental health um, improvements globally. So you're going to have to ring the bell. I'm doing the best I can to be more consistent on a time, but life happens and you can't really say to somebody that you're helping or that's in great need, okay, I got to go. I got something else better to do. Your life doesn't matter. So I have to space things accordingly. All right. So this episode I named um, definitions hit different pending perspectives because I think that succinctly sums up a lot. Well, very briefly sums up a lot of the things that we are noticing in our awareness to our environment as everyone is talking a lot about the current events. It's not just the political perspective. It's not just the student perspective of how they're seeing schools. It's not just the organizational field or industry and how they're seeing things. It's definitions as a whole that's taking a totally different um, perspective depending on who's saying it. For example, a lot of talk this week was about jobs, careers, salaries, and minimum wage. Let's talk about it from an industrial organizational psychologist perspective, showing how these things impact mental health. A lot of people who set the minimum wage, salaries, and title the careers, they have no idea. It's not considered what it's doing to a human's mental health or mental perspective. But stick with me. I'm going to try to get this out. This is an interactive show, so feel free to make comments, and I will, as I see the comments, I will bring the comments up. Sometimes StreamYard doesn't really show me the comments, but keep on putting them up there. We got somebody in the background that's going to make sure I see all the comments. But a lot of people don't know what a salary is. A salary, a lot of one percenters can consider it as a constant livable wage with benefits the worker can use to further support and sustain a living, a household, and a reliable work position, normally due to the worker's knowledge, skills, and abilities. So there's a particular set minimum of a wage that a person can make depending on their knowledge, skills, and abilities. So a lot of times it's based on a person's academic awareness or education. Knowledge, skills, and ability are oftentimes based on whatever the worker has it displayed in the workforce. But a lot of times it's really pending your education, which you can show from degrees you've earned, certificates you've earned, etc. Now, let's move on to minimum wage. I wanted to define what a salary was because a lot of people are minimum wage. You know, they know that word. However, it differs depending on who you talk to. For example, one percenters, um, they seem to think of it as a burden, which changes often, especially when stakeholders threaten to pull funds. Minimum wage workers are then downsized, and those funds are redirected to make organizational funds appear in the green, giving bonuses and financial incentive to stakeholders and giving financial bonuses and incentives to the company employees who have been there for a while, like salaried workers, such as the executive administrators and other um, executive board members and things like that. This often leads to salary increases for those people at those executive levels and the stakeholders and stockholders level because, well, they're redirecting the funds, but it gives us false sense of financial stability to the organization. But a lot of people, this is a system that's been perpetuated for so long. A lot of people are like, well, I get paid, so it's whatever. However, minimum wage to hardworking others is a small, usually unfair, low amount of money, which never increases despite hard work, the growing economy, or a worker's knowledge, skills, and ability, or any other logical reason. So from a perspective of someone who is not a one percenter, which is a lot of people, the majority of the people, this is what we see it as. I'm not a one percenter, so I can tell you from experience, having dealings with executive members of the organizational industry and having the experience of living, having a job that's minimum wage. I can tell you from experience. So to hard workers, minimum wage means a worker can struggle check to check, working with fear and trembling to not lose their only means of finances they have that's coming into their life, because all they have is all they know. So they're working with fear and trembling not to lose that. So they keep grinding, working hard, trying to blend in and work hard just to be overlooked when it's time to randomly downsize again. A lot of people know. Now, if you've read my book, then go and see my study that I reported on here at Generational Wealth, Information and Symmetry in Your Success. Mental Health is Physical Wealth. Go and grab that book if you don't have it. But in there, I tell you about some academic writings where I wrote about companies and organizations that use downsizing. And I mentioned a little bit about it in my book, but I didn't name any companies, how they use the organizational downsizing methods. Is really like, wow. But I wrote something and it's free. So go out there and check out my academic writings on the topic. Have an open perspective to it as well, because I don't pick sides. I just report the facts. Anyway, when people say raise minimum wage, it sounds like a threat to some and a treat to most others, because the definition of minimum wage depends on who's using it, Who's saying it? Who is it being directed towards? It's like a weapon that you just pop off or you shoot off, and it hits whomever it hits, and it affects whomever it affects. And people don't really dive too deep into it because it doesn't affect them personally. It doesn't affect them or anything in their environment. And that's a part of what's really, from my observations and studies, what I'm seeing is really coming to a end when people are saying we can't go back there, we can't do it again, we have to stop this, we got to turn the page on this. This is what they're talking about. We've seen it, we've done it, and we can't do it anymore. Hey Jackie, congratulations to you and Sir Phil. All right, I appreciate you being here and commenting. So another thing that we've seen, how some people feel like these really intelligent people, or people who have all these degrees, and people who are setting the norm or setting the trend that they want others to follow. We're seeing how they have to constantly be reminded that the facts are blurred. Okay, the facts are blurred for opinion. Facts are founded empirical studies proving information is sound, reasonable, or logical to follow. And opinion, well, an opinion is a lot like bad breath. Everybody has it, but some people don't realize how bad it is to somebody tell them, hey, your opinion really smells terrible. Can you brush your teeth? Rinse it out, something. Oh, you're welcome, love. So imagine that, you know, humans are innately capable of understanding multiple complexities which occur simultaneously or spontaneously. Long ago, and if you have my book, I'm trying to show you how centuries ago, philosophers already concluded these understandings. So I'm just bringing it up again. Humans' formal logic naturally understands phenomena. Now, I don't know if a lot of people understand what a phenomenon is, but if you got my book, you understand what a phenomenon is. I don't know. We got froze here some kind of way. Let me try to see if I can go back and change it to not be frozen. Okay, there we go. So y'all got to work with me. I'm 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 new at this. I'm doing what I can do. Okay, this is not what I do. I work behind the scenes, not in front of a camera. Okay, so work with me. So a lot of times people they don't understand what a phenomenon is. A phenomenon is something that people cannot control, but it happens. And we just roll with it, rock with it. Sometimes you can't control everything in your life. That's why that saying, that serenity prayer, help me to, change the things I can change and to accept the things I cannot change. It's because we understood many centuries ago before we were born that, the knowledge was already out there. There's some phenomenal things that occur that we cannot change. Some humans journey through life is like a road, they say. They say it's like a road. But a lot of times we can see like what kind of road is this? A lot of people may ask, what kind of road is this? I don't see it as a road. It's just not working for me. Well, I challenge you to consider this. Life is more like a set of individually chosen events which take place pending each person's free will, each person's thought process, or their encoding ability. That means how they're taking in information, how they're figuring it out, and then applying it naturally in day-to-day events or decisions. And how the individual chooses to make decisions of what to do with life or information and how to behave or whether or not to behave or improve. So thinking about it that way, we can see these things dictate the appointed time of events in one's journey. Let's think about it just for a moment. Because a lot of times when we say life is a road or journey, we're not thinking about it in this way. We're not thinking about it that, it's not necessarily a road. Now, yeah, I have more prompts for you to help with clarity and understanding. Now, this is the game board trouble. It's a road. It simulates a road. And if you think about a lot of the times where people say, life can be so troubling, or some people say, um, different things about life and how life is a path or a bunch of decisions. In the game board trouble, you can see it's a lot of decisions that you make, and it doesn't really have a particular path. A road can be controlled. It can be predicted. Traps on the road will have the same or predictable outcomes that's on the road or somewhere near the road or something like that. A road is a set location, and the traps are designed for a definite reason. Roads are set in a particular place, but people, as we're coming to learn and think about things critically, individually, and as it concerns us and our future, people are starting to create their own paths. They're like, well, this is a good career as people have set it up, but I want to be able to do something different. I don't want to work 40 years of my life and be stuck in this particular knowledge, skills, and abilities where I'm only applying that when I'm so much more. It's so much more to me. So a lot of people that retire, they're not retiring from the industrial work field, and they're retiring from a particular organization or a particular career choice. And we're seeing that a lot as we see older people living longer and thinking, man, I've done this for too long, let me try something else. I want to do something else. So you may retire from one thing, you may even go back to it, but at a higher salary. A lot of people, they're minimum wage, but when they retire, they're like, look, I'm done doing minimum wage. I want a salary, and I want bonuses, and I want annual increases, and I want other incentives that come along with things like salary. A lot of people, it took them 40 years of their life, their work life, to understand there's something more than minimum wage out here. And yes, thank you, Eddie. Please share this broadcast. I would greatly appreciate it. But anyway, let's think back to the road, and a lot of people, how they think of what life is when they say life is human's journey through life, and life is like a road. But challenge yourself to think of it in a different way that's a little bit more fitting to your formal logic. Challenge yourself to consider life is more like a set of individually chosen events which take place pending each person's free will. That's one. Thought process or encoding ability. That's two. And the individual's chosen decisions of what to do with information and how to behave, or whether or not to behave or to improve. These things are the things that dictate the appointed time of events in one's journey. Okay, a lot of people say, well, at the appointed time. It's not specifically at the appointed time. It's also the appointed mental place that you are, not just a set location. It's a place of your mind, your skills and ability to implement decisions or information such as facts. And in my book, I show you the difference between facts and information. So please make sure you grab yourself a copy. This book is available, Generational Wealth, Information and Symmetry and Your Success by Tina Phillips. It's available at lulu.com and on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Just ask for it. But moving on, now that we understand that, let's move on. So we can see how a lot of these things that we call opinions are really more self-aggrandizing, not necessarily information that's put out there to benefit anybody, more so than to benefit one's self. That's what that means. So when we sit here and we try to make ourselves out to be better or bigger than what we are, that was one of the concepts that was conditioned in our educational system, in the brick and mortar educational system, I should say, and the things that emulate or mimic those educational traits or training. We were conditioned to be that way, and it nullifies the formal logic that says, I don't know about that. Let me challenge that. Let me exercise a bit of critical thinking skills here to be better, to benefit the society as a whole and not just myself. But we're going to talk about it, and that is a big example of why mental health globally is deteriorated at the extent that it has, where it seems that nowhere you are is safe. I finally bought the book, just waiting for it to be delivered. Can't wait to read it. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate it. It's a state of mind. You better believe it. I mean, a lot of times we look at these sacred books of faith, and we don't consider that these sacred books are actually history. And it's telling us information that's factual, that's been learned empirically. That means somebody applied some effort. And now they know, and they telling us the information, the facts that we need to carry on and apply this information as facts in our lives in order to dictate where we really want to go. So when it says that a man believeth, so is he, that's the same as saying it's a state of mind. That's the same as saying, well, if you believe it, you can achieve it. That's the same as saying a whole lot of things that we just say in a plain day-to-day basis when we are trying to exempt faith talk from a particular associated word of progress and improvement. I get it. A lot of people, they're turned off by any type of talk about faith and religion and, anything like that, because people don't like to be reminded of anything sad. But anyway, it's important for us to understand self-aggrandizement and not exalting ourselves higher than what we should. And it's led to us putting in the workforce, it's led to us putting people who are unqualified in demanding positions of authority and power and control. And look where it's gotten us. It's gotten us in a really bad place. So if we think about it, when people attempt to take the glory, honor, and victory to exalt themselves, it was like the Tower of Babel effect all over again. People become stupefied. Now, where do we get this idea of the Tower of Babel? The Tower of Babel was in the sacred book we call the Bible. It's a historical writing that tells us what happens when people try too hard to glorify themselves and say, I'm gonna work around this. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and this is gonna work out. And it doesn't work out. And we have it in the Bible that people could not alter, so that other people, as they come up, a new generation start to spring forth, people would understand what that did and where it will lead to. So they know we're not going back to that sort of mentality, that sort of behavior. Yeah, a lot like Paul's thorns in his side. And it's repetitive. This lesson is extremely repetitive, and it's not exclusive to any sacred books of faith, let alone books wise people have written or philosophers have written. It's not exclusive to those locations. It's where everyone can reach it, where everybody can see it and know it. Binge watch a few of my episodes that I've done this month so you can see what I'm saying. Outside of that, I'm going to continue on because these episodes link. So please do watch those episodes. So the Tower of Babel effect, it means a lot of people who were gathered together to build this tower and go against a particular will, a particular set rule, laws, directions. And what happened was they all became stupefied to the point where they couldn't communicate effectively to one another. And everybody else, the like-minded people who could speak the same language and could understand the same persons and the like minds, they gathered together and they all migrated in different directions. We are seeing that even still in current events. Consider it. A lot of people are branching off. They're no longer saying, well, okay, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. We understand that we are United Americans and we all have a voice, and we want to be respectful of those voices despite the perspectives. And now we can see holistically one voice is gathering together to get all those voices together and conclude we can't go back. And we can all stand on that one thing, that one concept. So now the Tower of Babel effect is in a later stage. If we look at it as a current events, as a cycle that's repetitive, depending on individual decisions, not a set road, not a set path. But try to hang in there with me. I'm gonna try to get us through it. So the traps in these roads are innate to the road, or we should say the traps, okay, in these decisions that individuals make are not necessarily exclusive to any one person. And that's what we're seeing is you set the trap out there on the road and you set people in motion to cross that particular trap, but it's not catching the people, the targeted group. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why it's not only not trapping the targeted audience, but it's having an adverse effect to people that look like you, and they're exacting these very same traps back onto you and inflicting you with those traps. There's a reason for that. But I'm just going to keep on going because I don't want to get too far sidetracked. Okay? What I'm saying is when the unified progress, which united innovation and in leaps and bounds, it is halted or stopped when we allow the Tower of Babel effect to take place again and again and again. So when we look at when we track in innovation in our cultures in the world, we can see how these steps of division halt progress and development, and how it's making our finances fluctuate as a executive level workforce. We're seeing, or even a stockholder or stakeholders, we're seeing how the stock market is fluctuating so badly. This is why, and we need to apply these facts, even though it's derived from books we don't want to read, even though it's derived from books where people have used it as a weapon, even though it's derived from places and people who we would like to silence and nullify their voices so we can just do whatever we want to do, acting like we don't know any better, but we do. The objective to understand here is God wants people to be smart. He says it so many times, and he allowed these sacred books to be written in the faith so that people of all faiths in God understand these important and vital facts of progression. But He also wants us to be wise enough to give honor where honor is due to maintain progress. You can't maintain progress if you constantly giving the jobs to unqualified workers. You're giving the honor and credit to people who did not develop the ideas and the innovation that was created. The person who created it is not being accredited to that particular work. And that's why we're seeing this stupefaction that's constantly causing us to revert back to a time where we didn't know better. We know better, and we can't go back to acting like we don't, because we understand that we know better, and we understand the fight and the pushback is going to look different depending on who's inflicted with it. Okay. But anyway, it's like at times when things are too easy, or tasks or challenges can be taken taken like, oh, that's really easy, I can do that, no problem. So we then condition ourselves to be in a position where we take that task or challenge for granted, and people do not focus or put forth proper effort in completing the task or seeing the task through or following through with whatever it is that we're supposed to, because they take it for granted. Like, chewing and talking at the same time, or driving and eating and yelling at kids or other drivers while driving, or talking on the phone. We see the trend that succinctly calls it out. It says, you had one job, and this is what you did. So it's making fun. That's something that we can see as satire. Satire is when we are doing things to um, to make fun of the things that's a problem in society. For example, a lot of people may not have thought about it this way, but I challenge you to think about it. This board game called Trouble, and then they tell you that life is like a road. Then they create this road, and it ties in the whole idea of what the Bible said about man's days. Where was it in the book of Job, chapter 14, verse 1, where it says people days are numbered and filled with trouble. Uh, it's the same thing as saying life is short. We succinctly say or briefly convey the idea that life is short. Um, and that helps us to think, well, let's not bother with the problems and the troubles, and let's just get over it really quickly. But please continue to consider the body is a closed unit. The human body is a closed unit of different parts, but one body. Many parts, but one body. And it's constantly recycling or healing for the betterment of the whole. And a unit of many parts but one body. Okay, I got the props. I got the props for you. Many parts, and the intricacies are very important and vital to the whole functionality, not just the 1% that's down here between these cheeks. Okay, so we need to continue to consider that as we continue to move forward, because we think of it as, oh, well, it's just one body. But if you don't take care of that 1%, it's going to cause an effect that's going to impact not just that one location, but everything in its vicinity. Okay, so also I want you to think about this. Now, you know that saying, carpe diem, seize the day, make no provisions, enjoy the now because it's the only thing promised. You know how people think of that. That was a poet called Horace. And people, twist understandings of signals and transmissions, etc., such as facts. And it's like, we don't understand how that's impacting our mental health on a global stance. It's not just the targeted people. It's a global problem. And let's think about the fact of this poet Horace. Now, you may not know where that saying came from, but you know it's a familiar carpe diem, seize the day. You know that's familiar because we use it even now, and that was before Jesus. Just like the Apocrypha was written before Jesus. These wise people had some sayings that they had to learn from empirical studying and observation, meaning actual put forth the boots on the ground, they hands on, they're the practitioners out there putting forth the effort. Then they convey in an academic way to spread knowledge. Okay, so the poet Horace said, "Carpe diem, quam minimum quadula postero." I don't speak old Latin, but that's what it said. If you know what it is and you can interpret it, you feel free to put it in the comments because yeah, we could talk about it. But from what interpreters have said, it means pluck the day, trusting as little as possible in the next day. You see how people took that and turned it around, carpe diem. You see how they took and just singled out one part that they liked, and it's like, what is carpe and diem? What does that define? What's the definition of that? What? So they, but hey, I'm just saying, start critically thinking about stuff. But Horace popularized satire, and satire defined by the Britannica, an encyclopedia, is a way of using humor to show that someone or something is foolish or weak or bad, etc. Humor that shows the weakness or bad qualities of a person, government, or society, etc. It can be even an organization. A lot of times we think about it individually as an intervention when someone is addicted to something and we want to help them to overcome that addiction. So we commonly use it as an intervention. So there's that. That's where you get that idea from and that concept of how that would work out for people. We also see it in movies like the ones that make fun of other uh, flaws in movies or shows or whatever, where we see what is it, Scary Movie, the comedy, how it makes fun of all the other shows or whatever. That's satire. And we have seen how satire helps people to open their eyes. But a lot of times, thank you, Misty. Thank you for coming and commenting too. A lot of times we are seeing how people are now turning it or had turned it to not reprimand, but to level up the game of pettiness, and that's why we are where we are with this global mental health crisis. So, now I want to side note this poet Horace. I want you to think about something because I mentioned it in my book as well. Horace, his father was a slave at one point who earned his freedom, and later in a type of hybrid learning, which included a type of homeschooling like method, Horace's father would later educate his son. So he attended brick and mortar schooling, but his father felt that he wanted his son to have a well-rounded education because he didn't see it in the brick and mortar situation that we all send our kids to at some point, or some people. I'm not gonna say all, but you can send them to college, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, ask yourself this question. Why are the most renowned people of humans past so unorthodox by man's system, yet so much wiser than man contrives or molds? These people, these that I'm talking about, not just Horace, but Einstein, the man who knew infinity. I grabbed my book, Generational Wealth, Information Asymmetry, and Your Success, on Amazon or Lulu.com, where I try to help you to understand these things. These people are the intellectual models people aspire um, to be in their life, yet it cannot be taught in a brick and mortar school Isn't that peculiar? Because Horace, his father had to teach him in a homeschooling type of method. Einstein's mother educated him. The man who knew infinity, he accredited his prayers and studies in seeking God and the more of God. Think about it. I made mention of it before. I'm not trying to say you don't need brick and mortar schooling or some sort of man perspective education, but I'm trying to help you understand, if you didn't get into Harvard because you couldn't afford it, is you're not lost. All is not lost. I'm just saying. Even in schooling platforms, some students awarded earned degrees progress to be more advanced than the school could have ever guided. It's peculiar, isn't it? Information asymmetry, the human encoding process, free will, individual belief, faith, and spontaneous behaviors. These are all the study of the human mind and behavior and in psychology, but this is our current events. This is what we do every day. The study of the human mind and behavior is peculiar. And think about it like this, to be fun and memorable. Peculiar, the way it's spelled is like peculiar. It pecks at the lies and word phrases, seemingly picking out the subliminal messages to snap us back into a reality of facts, because truths lie in lies. One must peck the liar. I know that's crazy. That's crazy, but I do that sort of thing to help to keep myself sound and thinking logically. And it's like doing that helps me to remember. It's like that movie in Inception where somebody had a totem and the totem helped them to realize which reality they were in. Yeah, that's crazy, right? Because they went extra mile. They had exactly. They had to go the extra mile outside of man's orthodoxy and say, let me challenge that. Let me think. This is not clicking with my formal logic. I kind of feel some type of way about somebody telling me I'm derived from apes. Yet I go to the zoo and there they are, and I don't understand them and they don't understand me. I have a problem with understanding that the earth is flat or round because of gravity. And I don't understand how that works. I'm going to get to that whole gravity and define it a little later. I don't think we're ready for that just yet. So I'm going to let me see what the comments say. Oh, thank you, Misty and Jackie. Y'all so sweet. Doing it. But the human mind, it's not even the it's not even a 1% of the body. I got the props. Here we go. The human brain is so tiny. This is a blown up example because clearly that is not gonna go in there. It's not gonna fit. But it's to show you that the human brain, yes, let's just say for argument's sake, the brain and the mind, same thing. So when we're studying the brain and we're conducting all this research to probe into the brain to understand dementia and the darkening of the brain, because it doesn't have all of these little wrinkles. When you have complex thoughts and you're learning complexities, these create wrinkles in the brain. And you see these wrinkles, I don't know if you can see them too good, but anyway, these wrinkles in the brain help to slow down the dark matter that grows in our brains when we start to have that mental decline. That's why it's important for you to exercise critical thinking skills. Acknowledge that you have the ability to understand multiple complexities that's happening spontaneously or simultaneously. It's important because this is how we keep our brains alive. I know lie and liar is a controversial label, and I should say fallacy or sophistry or a little white lie or an exaggeration, which aids self-aggrandizement. You know, whatever way you want to say it, that's the objective. That's the baseline understanding. So I'm just trying to put it to you the way it really is, so that we can stop. I'm not gonna pussyfoot around words. I just can't. But I challenge you to consider this conclusion. We live in an individual experience which we love together, to with other like-minded or other open-minded people to share testimonies or receive encouragement. But we're never alone, even when we're by ourselves, which is phenomenal and tracked to be true. It's one body, but many parts. The human body and diverse parts, one closed unit encapsulated by one shared phenomenon. The human mind and behavior is peculiar due to the shared phenomenon. Think about it. It's a phenomenon, not a man. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments too. Not a man made orthodox faith label or education label or career or job label. Is not orthodox by any man label. It can be great to label things as long as you're not bound or limited by the label. And that's what I've tracked, I should say, which was the catalyst of us having this global mental decline. And I'm gonna get to this comment because this is funny. Did you take that brain on a poor plastic guy? No, actually, there's another guy, but I didn't show you that one because I think that may be a little too detailed for the audience. But I don't know. But back to the labels. Originally, labels were designed to succinctly aid clear understanding, which has no room for confusion. That means to be brief, say what you're saying, say it with your chest, things like that we're seeing people saying. But these labels were turned to confine people, restrict people, limit people, and to classify them, and then later condemn them because cancel culture and things like that, you see it. So labels like man, woman, child, elder, longitude, latitude, and yes and no. We've taken those labels that were originally intended to succinctly aid clarification of what we're saying and how we're saying it, and we twisted it over time. People justify confusing fundamental labels to remove the limitations innate in the labels. Therefore, modern conversations are far longer than they were in the past due to the abundant need of gross clarification. So basically, I did an episode about the alphabet and the development of that. The more letters we added to the alphabet, instead of having pictures and hieroglyphics, we're using like letters and symbols, and then we got to read. As we continue to get smart, we have to keep changing it so people can understand. Well, that's not what I meant. That's not what I was trying to say. That's not what I want to do. What you say, Jackie? Judges label people and some are not guilty, but yeah, and it does come with also a label of guilt and innocence. That's a good point that you put in there. I wanted to pull that out of that comment. But yeah, that's a good point. How labels also classify whether a person is guilty or innocent. What'd you say? Labels start at, yes, labels do start at birth, and that's because a lot of people are conditioned at when they start to come out of the womb. I wrote about it in my book. You got to grab it. I don't want to give it away. So go ahead and grab that book. I know I'm doing a whole lot of name dropping on that book, but a lot of stuff I can't repeat. And when I start to run out of time, I get nervous. But Generational Wealth, Information and Symmetry in Your Success, Mental Health is Physical Wealth, by Tina Phillips, Amazon, or lulu.com. But anyway, over time, over clarifying statements seems to be the burden of getting smarter while lacking discernment. The formal logic innately hones our discernment. Discernment is not taught. Think about that. Get the book. Get the book. I'm trying to tell you. But anyway, when people discern the spirit or nature of a thing communicated, clarity is automatically gained despite ambiguity, despite vagueness, despite what the smile on people's face, when they smiling in your face but stabbing you at the same time. Or as the Bible said, they smiling in your face, telling you they sorry about the loss of your chicken, somebody stealing your chicken. Meanwhile, behind their back, they choking the chicken to keep it quiet because they're the ones who stole the chicken. Anyway, neighbors, I'm just saying, company, I'm just saying, people, I'm just saying. Yet in this modern day, people can over explain the thing and still there will be confusion despite understanding being gained. Man, y'all ready for this? Y'all ready? I'm just saying, you might have lived this experience already. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew thought it was informative and a page turner even, because they kept on turning the pages. I'm just saying, not because the book was free to him because I'm the author, but I'm just saying. I didn't have the ability to get everybody I wanted to read the book. I'm not rich, so I didn't have the finances to get everybody a copy. I'm struggling, student loans and it's due. I'm saying bills, they do. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. And if you've asked yourself why these things are happening, it's because people are conditioned to null their innate discernment. How? Well, get the book. I'm just saying. How? Well-trusted people trust other people to trust a process which is discerned to be untrustworthy. That's one way. But the trusting justifies nullifying their discernment to trust the trusted. Come on now. I'm going to break it down just a little bit. I know this clock is wearing down on me, but it's like you trust your mom to tell you or to watch her put the turkey, break the turkey in half, break the back of the turkey so it'll fit in the little pan that she's been cooking the turkey in for Thanksgiving meals, but you never thought to ask why. This is one of the staples in psychology that uses to help people understand generational trends without asking questions. We don't know the why, how, or anything. We just follow. And in doing so, that is how we are conditioned to follow things despite our discernment saying, well, there's a better way. Well, or challenging, we should say, challenging that particular thing that's being done, the particular act. So because we trust our mom, we follow suit without knowing or really acknowledging that we have just then nullified our discernment, and our critical thinking skills aren't being honed the way they should be. They're being retarded. They're being stunted. They're being stifled, smuffled, and stupefied. Okay, it's being so. For example, after a mother nourishes her young, this is gonna hit different. I only got a few minutes, but I'm gonna use this example. After a mother nourishes her young, then she sends her young out into the world saying, trust schools to educate you and hone yourself. Later, as the child learns to understand lessons taught in school, the child learns of loopholes which justify societally undesirable behaviors. The mother is then shocked and surprised because it was unlike what she raised her young to be. Yet, unwittingly, she did. This is exactly how she raised the child. I'm just saying, this is an example that we are seeing every day. We're living it. It's an empirical experience. It's something that we are currently doing, something that we have some experience with. This is what we call an empirical observation. It's empirical studies. So um, when the mother and the original method of logic for understanding and implementing information is removed, then room is created for waywardness, confusion, and appalling actions which differ from the innate logic and reasonable. This is what we're seeing. This is where we are in time with this global mental health crisis. We we've removed that nurturing that says hone yourself using your formal logic, using your discernment. There's no replacement for these things. There's no orthodoxy that is set that says all of these things. For example, the Apocrypha was written before Jesus and during the poet Horace's time. But once Jesus came, Jesus said, I didn't come to shame you or blame you. I simply came to show you the way. He didn't want anyone in these sanctuaries to classify this ideology and this way of thinking in a particular faith label, because it's not exclusive to a label. You understand? The definitions hit different pending the perspectives. These labels that we have been conditioned to use restrict, they bind, and they confine. And they have led us to a place where we're experiencing global mental health crises because we're saying in our actions and everything we're doing and seeing and believing and feeling, we're saying we're not doing that anymore. We can't go back because this has led us to a dark space we can't pull ourselves out of as an individual. We need other people to help pull us out of it. So we have to build together. We can't be separate. We can't be divided. We can't smile in each other's face knowing we only intend to glorify ourselves, and we're going to act like we're going to help somebody else and then turn around and it's only going to benefit us as an individual, us as a 1%. We're saying we've learned about these labels. We're creating our own paths and we are going back to our formal logic. We just need to know what books to read, where to get the information from, who to trust. And I got some free writing out, some free literature out there for my academic writings over the years. I don't like to date myself, but it's been quite a few. It's been over 20. And I was blessed to write everything that I wrote. I did not do it on my own, but it was not via the aid of any school that I attended. That's what I'm trying to convey to you. So if you are trying to go to school, it's for the purpose of being awarded the degrees they can award you, but you earn that level of education on your own. You have to go outside of the norm, outside of the books that you're assigned, outside of your comfort zone, and read some of them books of faith that other people have labeled under a different label that you don't agree with. or you're conditioned not to agree with, because you don't even know whether you agree or disagree with it. Because somebody told you, somebody that you trusted told you, I don't read that. That's not good reading. That's not good literature. That's not facts. Or whatever reason they justify you nulling your ability to discern that you must study to show yourself approved. And it's not studying one particular thing, it's studying everything. It's psychology, it's anthropology, it's business, it's everything. Why? Because that's the whole unit, the whole unit that works. This is where we're getting it from. It's the whole unit, that system inside of there, the intricacies in there, and the different decisions in that path, in that journey, in the thing we call a road, which really is just individual decisions that's leading us to a particular stage of life, a particular thing that's happening to us. And it's, while it's similar, it's actually parallel to others, because it's one unit, one closed unit, human body, the human body. That's been my time for today. I appreciate everyone that came. I appreciate all the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, and remember, I'm only human trying to put all of this together in 1 hour. I don't have more than 1 hour. I just do it in 1 hour, and it's my volunteer work to help everyone to understand mental health is physical wealth. See you next episode. I thought Teddy was going to take us out of here. I think Teddy is not taking us out of here. Thank you, Misty. Aw, see, look at that. That's love. That's love. Teddy?
Mental health is physical